Right now as you read this, a thought just appeared in your head. You didn't choose it. You didn't plan it. It simply arrived. And here's the uncomfortable truth that neuroscience has been slowly uncovering for decades. You never choose your thoughts. Not a single one. Every thought you've ever had, every idea that's ever crossed your mind, every worry that kept you up at 3 a.m. arrived without your permission. You didn't decide to think about that embarrassing thing from 7 years ago. It just showed up. Welcome to the most unsettling fact about the human mind. You are not in control, or at least, not in the way you think you are. Let's start with what's actually happening inside your brain right now. Your brain is not a machine that waits for you to give it instructions. It's more like a city that never sleeps. Billions of neurons firing constantly, making connections, generating patterns, producing thoughts at a rate that would overwhelm any computer ever built. Scientists estimate that the average human has somewhere between 6,000 and 70,000 thoughts per day. Most of them you never even notice. They flash through your mind like shadows on a wall, gone before you can grab them. The ones you do notice, the ones that feel like your thoughts, are just the ones that manage to break through the noise and reach your conscious awareness. But here's the thing. By the time a thought reaches your consciousness, your brain has already been processing it for up to half a second. Half a second doesn't sound like much, but in brain time, that's an eternity. The decision was already made before you were even aware you were making it. This was first demonstrated in a now famous experiment by neuroscientist Benjamin Libet in the 1980s. Libet asked people to move their wrist whenever they felt like it, while he monitored their brain activity. What he found shocked the scientific community. The brain showed electrical activity related to the movement up to 550 milliseconds before the person was consciously aware of deciding to move. The brain had already decided. The conscious mind just found out about it later. It's like watching a movie and thinking you're the director, but you're not the director, you're just watching. So, if you're not controlling your thoughts, who is? The answer is both fascinating and deeply strange. Your brain runs on two systems. Think of them as two completely different operating systems running on the same machine. The first system is fast, automatic and mostly invisible to you. It handles everything your conscious mind would find too slow and too exhausting to deal with. Driving a familiar route, recognizing a face, feeling uneasy around someone you just met without knowing why. This system doesn't ask for your input, it just acts. The second system is the one you think of as you. It's slow, deliberate, and requires effort. It's the part of you that reads this sentence and understands it. The part that plans, reasons, and makes decisions. But here's what psychology has discovered. System 2. Your conscious mind is far less in charge than it believes itself to be. Most of the time, System 1 is already running the show. System 2 just shows up afterward and convinces itself it was in control the whole time. Your brain is essentially a very sophisticated storytelling machine. It takes everything that happens, everything that it decided in the background, and it weaves it into a narrative where you were the one making the choices. It's called confabulation, and it happens constantly, in every human brain without exception, but it gets stranger. Have you ever tried not to think about something? Psychologist Daniel Wegner ran an experiment in 1987 that became one of the most replicated findings in psychology. He told people to not think about a white bear for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Try to suppress the thought entirely. What happened? People couldn't stop thinking about it. The white bear appeared in their minds constantly, more often than if they'd been asked to think about it freely. Wegner called this ironic process theory. When you try to suppress a thought, your brain has to constantly monitor whether you're succeeding, and that monitoring process keeps activating the very thought you're trying to avoid. The harder you try not to think about something, the more your brain makes sure you do. This is why telling someone who's anxious to just stop worrying is spectacularly useless. Their brain is already doing the worst possible thing to stop the worry. It's worrying about the worry. So what can you actually do? This is where it gets genuinely useful. The answer isn't to control your thoughts, it's to change your relationship with them. Neuroscience and psychology have converged on a surprising conclusion. The goal is not thought control. The goal is thought Observation. When you observe a thought instead of reacting to it, something remarkable happens in the brain. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation, becomes more active. The amygdala, the part of your brain that treats every anxious thought like a physical threat, becomes less reactive. The simple act of noticing a thought, labeling it and watching it without judgment, literally changes the neural pathways involved. This is what meditation does, not emptying the mind, not controlling thoughts, watching them like clouds passing through a sky. You are not the clouds, you are the sky. The thoughts arrive, the thoughts pass, and the sky remains. Ancient humans had no neuroscience to explain this, but every contemplative tradition in human history, from Buddhist meditation to Stoic philosophy, to the desert fathers of early Christianity, arrived at the same conclusion. You cannot control what enters your mind, but you can choose what you do with it when it does. The brain that generated the thought is automatic. The awareness that notices the thought is something else entirely, and that awareness is perhaps the most remarkable thing about the human mind. You can't control your thoughts, but you can watch them. And in that watching, something shifts. The thoughts still come. The brain still fires. The neurons still connect. But you are no longer swept away by every wave that passes through. You become the observer. And the observer, it turns out, is free in a way the thinker never could be. That is the strange, unsettling, and ultimately liberating truth about your mind. You never chose a single thought. But you are here, aware of all of them, and that awareness is entirely your own. There is one more thing worth knowing. The average person spends nearly 47% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they are actually doing. Almost half of your life is spent somewhere else, in memories that no longer exist, in futures that may never arrive, conversations you rehearse with people who aren't there. Harvard psychologists Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert tracked this in a landmark 2010 study. Using an app that pinged thousands of people at random moments throughout the day and asked two simple questions. What are you doing right now? Are you thinking about what you're doing? The results were striking. People were mind-wandering during almost every activity except one: making love. Everything else, eating, working, commuting, talking to other people, and the mind was somewhere else almost half the time. And here's the part that matters most. People were less happy when their mind was wandering than when it was focused on what they were doing, even when they were thinking about something pleasant, even when they were daydreaming about a holiday or a good memory. The wandering mind was consistently associated with lower happiness than the present mind.